Hi cuties! So it's a little late to be starting this video, but today I want to talk to you about the top 10 books that I want to read in 2019. Now I want to be reading as many of these books as possible, but these are the top 10 that I'm most excited about. And this year I'm kind of doing things very randomly with how I select a book. I'm really letting the fates decide on what I'm reading, except for what I'm currently reading because a friend lent it to me and I have to read it. And also I'm loving it. It's Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. That was another book that I really wanted to read in 2019, but I didn't own it yet. But my friend did and she lent it to me and I'm loving it and dying. But anyway, back to the top 10. They're in no particular order, and there are many books on these shelves that I really want to read in 2019 as well, but I want to read these ones the most. The first one is very popular all across BookTube and the internet and the world, and that is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. The sequel to this, I believe, is also coming out this year, so I really want to read this. I have heard so many good things about this book. I have heard it compared to Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I love, but it deals with magic and African culture. It just seems like that new epic fantasy that I've been dying for. So I'm hoping to get to this sometime this year. The next book is one that I had been searching for forever, but kept only finding really expensive copies of it, and that is The Diviners by Libba Bray. This one deals with like 1920s paranormal investigation, and I recently got the third book in my last book outlet haul. Still need to find the second book somewhere. But I really want to read this book and the whole series this year. I think there might be more coming out too. I think there was a possible fourth and fifth book in this series. So this just seems right up my alley, except for the 1920s part. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't care for stories set in the 1920s. It's part of the reason why the new whole Fantastic Beasts series is not something I've been enjoying very much. I haven't even seen Crimes of Grindelwald, and I don't really think I ever intend to. Aside from all the horrible things I heard about it, I just don't really get the appeal of the period. So that's something I'm worried about with this book series, but I'm giving it a chance because historical paranormal investigation really intrigues me. So let's hope for The Diviners. So the next book is ridiculous and one that I'm not allowed to read until October. It's a major nostalgia feel, and you might have already guessed what it is. Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel. I love Hocus Pocus, and I'm very excited to read a novelization of it and a sequel to it. I bought this last year and I wanted to read it in October. I think I was in the middle of the Iron Fey Call of the Forgotten series, so I wasn't able to get to Hocus Pocus in October. So I'm saving it for this October because I love having my cheesy spoopy October. Next up, this is one I've owned for a while, and I really want to read it because I've heard it compared to Labyrinth, which I love, and that is Winter Song by S.J. Jones. It basically is Labyrinth, just different, because there's the Goblin King, there's the underground, but the character is Liesel, but instead of her little brother being taken by the Goblin King, it's her little sister, and I really miss Labyrinth. I really want to read the novelization of Labyrinth, but I don't own that yet. Really want it, but I've heard for anybody who really wants to delve back into the world of Labyrinth, Winter Song is the way to go. I also own Shadow Song, which is the sequel to it. I just have no idea why I haven't gotten to it yet, because I really want to get to it. Next up! All these book videos turn into me singing. This one I find is very popular on the Tumblr, so it's been enticing me for a while. It is a little scary, because it's very big, and I think that's why I haven't picked it up yet, and also because I don't really know the plot. All I really know about it is that it's sci-fi and everyone loves it, and that is Illuminae by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. I now have the entire trilogy, so I really want to read the whole thing. I mean, it's freaking gorgeous. Look at this cover and stuff. The dust jacket's all see-through and stuff, and then you get to the cover and it's all these notes. It's so intriguing to look at. It's set in the future, and I think it's sci-fi mystery. There's lots of different formats, which is something I found I really loved in the Supernatural Enhancements, which I read during my readathon last year. So I think this book only looks like it's gigantic, and it will be a faster read than my brain thinks it will be. So I really hope I get to Illuminae this year. Next up is the one that I was so happy to finally find during my bookstore crawl, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. If you saw my bookstore crawl, you know how happy I was to find this in hardcover. One of my favorite YouTubers absolutely loves this book. I have been wanting to read it for a long time, several years now. I hadn't gotten my hands on it, and now that I do, I definitely want to read it this year. So this story deals with a circus that just pops up out of nowhere, and there's like a competition between magicians, and I don't really know much more than that. So I'm very excited to get to The Night Circus. Finally! Man, I have had this on my TBR for years now. So I have to read it. I have to read it this year. Remind me, guys. I have to read The Night Circus this year. I mean, you probably won't have to remind me because I really want to read it, but just in case. Okie dokie. The next book that I've chosen is also another one that the Booktober that loved Night Circus also loves this duology, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I don't know a whole lot about this, but another YouTuber I watched did a video where she dressed up as one of the characters who has like blue skin and fiery red hair and stuff, and watching her gush about Muse of Nightmares, which is the sequel to this, really got me intrigued in reading this series and pretty much being intrigued by all of Laini Taylor. I also have her Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, which I haven't read yet. It seems very fantasy because it deals with gods and a mythical town, and Laszlo Strange, who's the main character. I mean, he dreams a lot of this stuff, so I really don't know, but I'm very intrigued. That could really be the title of my autobiography. I don't know, but I'm really intrigued. Next up is one that's been hyped all across the bookverse. My sister has read this book and loved it. I really want to read this book. Obviously, that's why it's on this list. This one's not really YA, it's just straight up fiction or historical fiction, mythological fiction. Anyway, that is Cersei by Madeline Miller. I also really want to read her Song of Achilles, but I have not picked that one up yet. So obviously this deals with Greek gods, which sometimes can be done really poorly, but I have heard nothing but rave reviews about Cersei, and I really want to read it. I actually picked this one up when I was visiting my friend in Canada, and I've been holding it since then, but it's definitely one I want to read this year. It looks so good. I've heard nothing bad about this book, and there's probably a great many of you who have already read this book and are like, why haven't you read it yet? I'll just be like, I don't know. So yes, Cersei. This next book is one that I picked up just because I loved the cover so much, and then I read the inside dust jacket, was like, yes. And that is The Bone Witch by Rin Chupeco. It deals with witches, and I love witches! But this particular witch deals with necromancy, which I find very intriguing. Again, I don't know, but I'm intrigued. I just love the cover. I also have already got The Heart Forger, which is the second book, and there's a third book that's going to come out, I believe, this year. Oh my god! But this was another one I keep trying to save for October, for a spoopy reads thing, so it might be read along with the Hocus Pocus book, but I don't know if I should wait for the third book because I don't know how I'll feel about getting through the first two and then not knowing how the third one ends. But this one definitely got me by the cover. I mean, look at it, and it feels really nice. Like, yes. Yeah, I'm going to read it this year. I'm going to. And the final book is one that I got in an owl crate many, many moons ago, and I have been desperate to read it, and I finally have the full trilogy, even though there's going to be more books, but I feel like I should really start reading them. And that is Three Dark Crowns by Kender Blake. I mean, I'm a sucker for sister stories, for one. I'm a sucker for dark princess stories, and this deals with three sisters whose main goal is to kill each other. Talk about my family life, right? I'm just kidding. My sisters and I never tried to kill each other. Wait. Anyway, so I definitely want to get into Three Dark Crowns and One Dark Throne and Two Dark Reigns. And I'm like, you're running out of numbers, Kender Blake. How can there be two more books? So this one's going to be a project of a little book read-a-thon, I think. But I'm very excited to finally get through this one. And all of these books! Oh my god, that's really heavy. So put in the comments below, what are the 10 books you want to read the most this year? These are my top 10. But I also want to read these. The problems of buying more books that you can read in a year. Unless I stop working entirely and just sit in my room all day, every day, reading books. Who needs income, right, when you have books? And that concludes this video, kitties. I will see you next time. Bye.